getting in the box.
Hello and welcome to the Petite Plot. Today we have a few varied jobs to do. Firstly, I'm starting with the bird bath, which we haven't cleaned since September, October maybe. We have topped it up with fresh water every so often, but it hasn't had a proper scrub since then. And this bird bath was purchased from an antique store near Ulster, I believe. And we do have a solar fountain in this bird bath, which has been working very well. And I also put a little bit of copper pipe in there, hoping that it would help keep the water clean. Not quite sure how well that works, but I'll keep it in there just because. I don't use any chemicals to clean the bird bath. Generally, if I just scrub it enough, I can get rid of all of the green material and just fill it back up with water. It was another rare summery morning, and you have to choose your jobs based on the weather, really, don't you? Because messing about with water in the garden is a chilly job. It's very lightweight, so you can just move it around very easily. And now to put it back in its position. And hope that this year we attract more than just a few rather large pigeons. Now this bit takes a little bit of working out because we are on gravel. You don't automatically get a level surface, so you try and gauge it by eye initially, but then the only other way to do it is to just add water and see how level the water is once you start topping it up. But because it is on gravel, you can just push more stones under a foot or remove them to get it almost there. I don't think the birds care much, but it's just aesthetically pleasing. It does come up remarkably clean, actually. There's a little bit of rust to the side, but that adds to the charm. Sunny days are rare, so it's actually really nice to get outside and do some garden jobs. We do get bees visiting. There are a lot of plants around that attract bees, and we do have a buddleia growing at either side of this corner of the garden. As I say, the solar fountain has done really well. Of course, it's not one that stores power. It will only work when the sun is actually on it, or if the sun is bright enough in the sky. It doesn't necessarily have to be directly on it. It will get a little bit of residual sun even in a small amount of shade. And keeping the solar panel itself clean, of course, will help towards that. There are different nozzles that you can put on the solar fountain. The issue with them is because it moves around, if you have one of the lovely spouts on that sprinkles lovely water in the air about a foot high, it looks lovely, but you lose your water over time because it all goes over the edge. My winter lettuce is now flowering, as is the rocket just beyond there. And I'm still waiting for my cherry tree to catch up. This is the spinach I put out recently, doing very well. And now I've got my eyes on this bed with the spring onion in, because I think I'm going to pull it out, and we've got something better to go in here. It will of course need topping up. And while I'm down here, I can see that the hot bin has been leaking all on its own because I obviously haven't emptied the reservoir at the bottom often enough. So first things first, let's get that done. This is probably 4 or 5 days worth, but when you put grass in, you do generate quite a lot of liquid. Just checking on the hellebore, because last year we had lots of aphids. In fact, the garden was saturated with aphids this time last year, which disfigured the buddleia and quite a few plants. But this year I just don't seem to have as many. I can't wait to show you the garage once all of the leaves are out on this Chinese creeper. It looks fantastic. And it continues to the corner, across the gates and onto the house. But the issue with that last year is that I couldn't get in there to paint the fence because it was just filled with foliage. So I need to try and get that done before it grows back again. Right, now there's something I need to fish out of here because it's going to be planted out. And it's amazing how hot it can get in there. It's just over 20 degrees early morning, and it's just perspex, but it can get very warm. And because of the heat, everything's starting to dry out a little, so time for a water. A little bit overzealous there. But those were the tomatoes. They will definitely enjoy having a nice top up of water. And the spinach there and radish also getting some water. And we have a couple of things that need to come out of here. The land cress, it's not really doing that well, but the corn salad is, and the strawberries. And quick update, we washed all of the windows. I say we, it was my husband. Now let's see if we get steam from the hot bin. There we go. Okay, so the plan is those spring onions are going to be removed, and I need to get some compost from my finished bay and fill it up so that we can put the strawberries in. I'm trying to find something here to prop open the door, so although we made this out of like a garden bench, this door was actually a table that you could push out, and I thought that will make a brilliant door, which it does. However, you do need to have something holding it up, else you can't get in there. I'm sure I'll figure out how to make this all work a little bit more seamless next time. But this is the first time emptying it actually. I did just start off with one compost bay, which is the one to the right, but that wouldn't break down everything enough in time for when I needed it. Over 2 to 3 years it did a great job, but I needed stuff, you know, the next season. So now with the hot bin doing the majority of the hard work, I can just let these cold bins just help break it down that bit more. I wouldn't say it's perfect still, but it's perfectly good. And the best stuff is normally at the back, but who can ever really reach the back? By the time you try to get to the back, it's all caved in on you. This planter I think is made from cement. It has broken underneath, which is why it's lined with plastic to stop all of the soil from just running straight through. It has got holes in, so it doesn't hold a lot of water. It will allow it to drain quite nicely. And although this corner doesn't get sun all the time, these strawberries, when I first got them last year, before winter set in, were just sat where I've got the straw behind me, just in this tray, and they seemed absolutely fine. They grew on well, without a huge amount of sun. I know, of course, we need sun in order to get the fruit to ripen, so I'm going to test it this year and see how well it does ripen in this location here. The compost I put in there last year, I think it was last year, was quite sandy. It was like a seed starting mix, but it just looks a little bit like concrete at the moment. So the strawberries will be very grateful to have this very nutrient rich compost. I'm just taking anything out that's a little bit too big or bulky that hasn't yet broken down, and breaking up any clumps. And this will obviously settle somewhat, but that's fine. I can always add more when I need to. But the strawberries are looking really healthy. They have tried to fruit, which of course is in vain at the moment. But I'm hoping to have a crop of strawberry this year. I haven't had strawberries for probably 2 to 3 years now. I used to keep some in a pot similar to the pot just to the right of where the strawberries are now, and they dried out quite quickly, and I think I had an alpine variety because they were quite small and they didn't really ripen very well. I also had another variety that produced very large strawberries, and they were lovely. However, the slugs got to them mostly before I did. I do realise, of course, I'm battling against the slugs and snails with strawberries. Right, let's get them in. So I have 6 strawberries, which will fit quite nicely in here. And these were given to me by a friend from book club. You can see their roots are quite prolific. So I don't envisage any issues with them being transplanted here. Also, I'm just removing any slugs that have taken up home in there. I'm not really sure whether I should be removing the fruits. They should have really been put out last year, but I was undecided on where to put them. And there's no harm really in leaving them in pots over the winter, especially because I could protect them in the mini greenhouse. It feels nice though just to get your hands back in the soil, plant things out, and I hope that you will have a harvest later in the year. There we go, 6 strawberry plants. Hopefully happy in their new home. I need to cut that runner off. I'm going to add some straw. Now I know they're not fruiting yet. Well, they're trying, but those aren't the real fruits that will come through. But just to tidy it up, to stop splashing of the compost back onto the leaves, etc. I'm going to cover the soil with straw. Hopefully it will act like a bit of a mulch, keep them warmer. And when they do eventually fruit, it should keep the fruit away from the compost so that they're nice and clean for when we harvest. And the reason why I have some barley straw is because when you have a bloom of the algae in the wildlife pond, if you make just a small bundle of barley straw and put that into the pond, it helps keep it clean. I'm not sure on the science behind it, but I've done that a few times now and it's worked quite well. It stops it from becoming unmanageable. And there they are, tucked in nicely. And if we investigate a little, you can see where they've been trying to fruit. And I'm just checking that they are all showing new growth, which they are. Now, this pot here is for indoor use, tin pots, and I had basil in 2 of these and parsley in the other. The basil, you can see the stick there still, its stem, in that one I'm just emptying now. That died last year, late last year, but I had kept that basil going for nearly 3 years in the house. It was initially bought from the supermarket, and normally you only expect them to sort of live for 1 year, if you're lucky. But yeah, I kept it indoors and it lived for about 3 years, which was brilliant. I haven't managed to keep any other basil going that long, just that one. But what I'm doing now is it has to be cleaned because fungus gnats. Yes, lots and lots of fungus gnats. So I had put seedlings in these pots, more basil, more parsley, and the parsley were coming up strong, basil not so. But the fungus gnats just kept eating everything. So I've emptied these out, giving them a thorough clean, and I'll let them dry thoroughly, and I'll make sure there are no signs of fungus gnats in the house before I fill these back up. And again with the basil, I used coconut coir and compost mix to make sure that I didn't accidentally drown the basil, which I am known to drown my indoor plants. These pots, as I say, they're tin pots, and they have a rim of copper, which had turned a little bit green with neglect. I mean, I haven't cleaned these out since I bought them, because I've had plants in them ever since. And I have put the plants directly in them. I didn't sort of just put the pot inside. That one has gone quite rusty, but it all adds to the charm. And it's good to have a utility sink for specifically this kind of job. And here I'm just showing you my process with eggshells. I leave them to dry. And I crush them up. I add them to the food waste ready to go down into the hot bin. I have the paper. Let's see what's in the box. There's nothing for you. No, it's for me. How are we getting in the box? How do we get in the box? We don't know. How do I get it? Am I chopping? I didn't chop anything inside. Okay. Wasn't what I was expecting. Okay, so they had a code to get some free wallpaper paste. Mix it with 1 US gallon of water. Or 4 litres of UK. Great, okay, because I don't know what a US gallon would be. And here's the paper. I expected different rolls for each area. Ooh, okay, it's just there. It's just there. don't want to touch it. I've been in the garden. The panels are numbered in the order they should be hung. I'm assuming then they just wrap all the panels together in one row. We hope. Before hanging, make sure no panels are missing and none have defects or damage. Obviously I'd need to unwind it all to see that. Panels are numbered at the top in the order they should be hung. Hang from left to right. I assumed you would start in the middle and then go out to the sides. Make sure the panels are hung straight, clearly. Apply the paste directly to the wall, brilliant, because we don't have a pasting table and I don't really want to do it in here. Wait 24 hours to see the finished results. Okay, you know what I'm going to be doing this weekend. Right, I'm excited to open that, but I've got dirty fingers at the moment because I've been in the garden. So we'll do that later. Great. It was getting a little bit dark here, so the footage is slightly grainy. However, I was very impressed with the quality of the print. It just looked fantastic. And that's panel number 1. So what I figured out is that all the panels are printed on one roll. Each roll is numbered. Panel 1 of 6. And the rest are all on there. You just have to unroll. We thought we would take advantage of the sun and have a final dog walk of the day. It's a little bit too squidgy to continue walking on the fields, unfortunately. But Heidi would love it if we could. And there's our little garden friend. Thank you for joining me on the Petite Plot, and I hope to see you next week.